Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Golden Cabinet podcast where we have interviews with world-class TCM community leaders like Sandro, where we discover the stories, habits, psychology, and secrets that led to their success. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Sandro. I'm excited to get to know you better.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Excellent. Good. So for anyone who hasn't subscribed, I mean, there's YouTube, there's the Facebook page, all the regular places, and Sandro will give us a place to connect with him as well before the end. But stick around. We've got some fun things to chat about, and I'm excited about. So, but without further ado, I would love for you to kind of intro yourself. You're from Dublin, and I just. I see you on Facebook, and I know you're just in Tel Aviv, and you're a very active community member. So I'm grateful that you're putting such effort into helping the industry, and B, I'm just happy to be here with you today. So yeah, where did you come from? I love the background story. So how did you get into acupuncture and
I know how did I get to Dublin is even the first question, isn't it? Because
yes. Yeah, where did you start? Back up.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Portugal. So I was born in just a small little village just outside Lisbon, and I lived in Lisbon for a good while, and it was a place to go if you wanted to get a better job and stuff like that. And funnily enough, when we were chatting before, you were asking me about the influences and the origins, and I always have to go back to growing up as a teenager, and on a Saturday morning, I used to, as every kid does, watching TV, and, there was a normal cartoons. I always liked the Once Upon a Time. I don't know if you had that there in Canada. It was the cartoons, and they started with the one was Once Upon a Time. I think it was Once Upon a Time, the Human Body. And it was all cartoons. The human body was cartoons. So that was really, really early. And then teenager years was Doogie Howser.
Oh, right. Okay, got it. Yeah.
And, I wanted to be like Doogie Howser, why not,
Yeah.
And, it was, secondary school and having to make the big decisions, going from one year to the other. And I did mention, biology, health, going into that sort of stuff. But it was just tough. It was tough from from where my mum and dad come from and their background, and there was no way they could get me into medical school. And so the choice number 2, which is funny when you link the whole thing together, was that growing up, I was really, really good at opening up all my toys and taking them apart to find out how they worked. Because I wanted to know, one thing is you get the toy, and I actually have visions of this, like being really, really young, and like my brother is 8 years younger than me, and this before I have memories of opening up. You get the toy, you open it, you work out how it works for a while, and then my next thing is I want to find out how this works.
Disassemble.
Yeah, but not for that destruction thing, because the thing then was to just find out and then put it all together.
Yeah.
I never got to perfect that bit, but so I have these visions of and how the things connect, of actually always having that passion of finding out more about things. So when it got to that point of making the decision, and it wasn't going to be health. And we did try. Look, mum and dad did try and talk to people and whatever, but it was just too much of a commitment, and financially couldn't do it. So I got into electronics.
Okay.
And fixing things, finding out how they work. So at the time, it was all very innocent. But now that I look back, I think, oh yeah, I kind of see the point. It's still trying that magic of how does this actually work.
Anatomy,
but again,
and biology.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't until later on, so I would have been like maybe 19, 20, when the opportunity came. And I suppose we get to see a lot of these when you ask people probably about our generation, because now you can see people actually going to school studying Chinese medicine as their first choice. But from our own time, it was normally, you would have a job, and then you go and you study, and then that becomes your second job, if you like. And so I had a stable enough job. It was great. The hours were kind of like consistent enough, so it allowed me to do a little bit more. and I hurt my back.
Okay.
So, acupuncture had been mentioned to me before because of headaches and migraines, but I was one of those that was like, needles, there is no way. Although I admit that by 19 I got my first tattoo, but that's different. Needles, right?
Yeah, far cooler, man. Yeah,
I know, right?
yeah,
That what you want for your 19th birthday, I'm
yeah,
definitely going to get a tattoo. And you're
yeah.
like, you were told to get treatment and you didn't. So around that time, like I suppose like 19, 20, I did hurt my back. Someone mentioned to me about acupuncture, and I said, "Look, yeah, it's really bad, so I'll just go and do something." And I remember starting getting the acupuncture for the headaches and the migraines, and it's so funny that it happens so many times in the clinic for ourselves. I'm sure it happens to you as well. Of you go in and you say to the guy, "Look, my back is getting much better now. Do you work on other things than just your back?"
Right, right.
And you start getting the story from the person. This is like at treatment 3 or treatment 4. And he was like, what do you want to tell me? Is there something else? And I said, yes, my headaches and migraines have been always very erratic. There was, all the tests, and nothing was ever found exactly as a trigger or anything like that. So, I'm just thinking, the back worked out okay. Can you do something about that? And we did. And it was at that time, within those, that I clearly remember those weeks of getting the treatments for the headaches and migraines, and how that kind of like sparked my inner child again of going, I have to find out how this works.
Okay.
How come? So the pattern started with the migraines not happening as often, and I was getting headaches. And I clearly remember saying to the guy, like going up the stairs, like typical old Lisbon building, and there's no lift, and you go up the steps, marble, and it's Saturday because that's when I could get the treatment. And I remember sitting in the waiting room and thinking, I need to tell him, because I'm getting more headaches.
Right.
And I thought, yeah, but I'm not getting migraines anymore. I must tell him.
Yeah.
So I said to him, like, the intensity has reduced. I'm getting a few headaches, but sure, those I can, even with medication, I could just do my normal day. It wouldn't be like a migraine with, photosensitivity and all that. And he started laughing. He goes, yeah, that's a good start, all right.
Yeah.
And as treatments progressed, like the migraines and the headaches were gone. And I said to him, like, I really need to know more about this. How did this work when nothing else did? I tried the typical painkillers, the supplements, I was young. I wasn't really drinking that much because I was already working. I wasn't smoking, so I wasn't doing that much wrong. And I was coming from a background of playing sports as well.
Right.
So he gave me I told him the story about Doogie Howser as well. I said to him that this was my first choice,
Yeah.
So he said, well, if you're interested that way, I'll give you this book to read. And my first book to read was Angela Hicks. I don't know if you know her around there, but who I got to meet finally 2 years ago, I think. And we ended up crying, the two of us, because it was like, oh my God, I finally get to meet you. If it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
It was, it's a simple enough book. It's not even for practitioners as such. It's kind of like in between.
Right.
But it's very, very, short and sweet book, and reading it and kind of like, this makes sense.
Right.
How come more people don't know about this, And yeah, I just went from there and saying it to the guy. So like, I really like that book. And he goes, well, I have more.
Yeah, a lot more big ones.
Yeah, right.
Expensive ones.
I know. So he mentioned to me about the college there in Lisbon, and said, look, the classes are at night time, evening time, so we could still be at work and then go and, give it a go and, see what happens. So did the admission exam, and it got to, I'm not going to go through every year, don't worry, that would be the longest podcast ever. But the thing that kind of clicked and changed, so I finished the first semester there, and I was a bit annoyed because one of the bigger books that we were asked to read was Giovanni, who passed away recently, was Giovanni's book, and we had a translation that, when we were told to get the book, I thought the translation was in Portuguese. That's what it said, and it was it was difficult for me to read. I was working for a big company, and there were people there from all parts of the world. So, English was kind of like the common language. It's like I had some books in Chinese medicine in English as well, and those made more sense than the one that said it was in Portuguese, which I then realized when I asked it was in Brazilian Portuguese. So it was like that moment, and I don't know, at that stage it would have been like 22, maybe 21, 22, I'm not sure. And I was like, okay, my own career, I really love my job, but there's other things, because we were getting people coming from all over the place to our company, and I was like, I really like this work ethos in other places, different from Portugal. So I suppose wanting to explore and wanting to go somewhere different, I started looking around and say, like, can I do this in English?
Right.
Like the English translations are better than the one that I'm reading now. And there was that thing about moving and looking for every young person likes to travel, right?
Yeah, the grass is greener. Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried. I looked at London first, and that's a funny story because it was a Middlesex University, and just up until the very final, and that was because I had family in London. Okay. At that stage, I didn't realize how big London was, but kind of looked like sounded like the obvious option.
Yeah.
And thing was, Middlesex University were doing acupuncture only, and I'd started doing TCM.
Sure.
I was really in love with the tweener massage, and I was like, still not convinced about the needles though.
Right, yeah, no one is.
and the guy that was helping me out said, we do acupuncture only, so you get your licentiate in acupuncture, and then once you do that, you can then go on and do, you can do the herbs, you can do tweener if you want to, you can do qigong, whatever you want to do is after. And I said, look, is there anywhere else then? Because I'm not really that stuck in London as such, that needs to be that. And he said, well, there's a college in Edinburgh and there's a college in Dublin.
Right.
And when people ask me, how did you end up in Dublin? I always go, like, that was really bad research, because I didn't even check anything online at the time. I was just like, Edinburgh? Wow, that sounds really up north and really cold and rainy. Right, here I am Dublin. In Dublin.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and the funny thing about about what I said about Middlesex University is that if you fast forward like a decade and a bit, that's where I'm doing my master's at the moment. So it was like it was meant to be kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yes, I ended up just, for, I think it was a week and a bit. The first time I was in Dublin, I really liked it. People really, really open, really, really nice. The Guinness is lovely. Sorry for the advertising here now, but it's really nice though.
Yeah.
I was like, it was cold though.
Yeah.
It was really cold, different from Lisbon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I applied for the school, for college here, and I was more afraid of the English kind of thing, because it's different when you're reading and whatever, but sitting in a classroom,
Mm-hmm.
So got in that year, so that school year, so in September, and graduated from there and went to Beijing, did time in the Beijing University, and.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big leap right there, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not as good looking as Doogie Howser, but
Neil Diamond Walsh, yes. So you went to Beijing and did an internship or some time in a hospital or something there?
Yeah, post grad. Yeah, it was a very, very good experience. The and again, the way that acupuncture and Chinese medicine changed my life is that I met my partner Siobhan. I met her in college.
Oh yeah.
So the whole thing of changing lives and making our lives better. It's not just the patients, our own as well.
Yeah.
But I remember saying this to Siobhan. So it's a funny thing when you asked about Beijing. We went about 2 or 3 years after graduating, mm-hmm. and some of the guys that were part of our group were just qualified, and some of them were actually still doing clinical hours while still there, Right. And it was the first time when Siobhan said it to me that, like, look at the difference. If we were here just after graduating, we wouldn't get as much out of this.
Right.
Now, I understand, look, everybody, you know, the opportunity is there and you do it and it's fine, but it changed so much in my practice.
Wow.
You know, being there, being in the hospital, seeing the way, now don't get me wrong, I didn't change my clinic to make it become a hospital in Beijing.
Right. You don't want that.
But it became a lot more, hang on a minute, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know, because we all have that thing about, oh, I'm only doing it a year, I'm only doing it 2 years, and there's always someone who's ahead of you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you go there and you're working with the doctors and you start by, you know, your first job, if you're allowed to, is to take the needles out and they look at your technique and see how things are. And it was really good. And anyone who has the opportunity of going to any of the hospitals, go. It's a really it's life changing. You'll learn loads.
Yeah, I remember when I went to China. I feel like in some respects I learned more about the medicine by just being immersed in the culture in some ways than I did even in the hospital, because it's hard sometimes to understand what's happening when, you know, this 80-year-old doctor's taking a pulse and says nothing and shoos them away with a prescription. So, but I mean, I loved the experience as well. I think was an essential piece for sure.
Mm.
So then you came from China back to Ireland. That became home.
Oh yeah. Even Ireland. You know, Dublin was already home at that stage. So I moved to it was 2004, early 2004 was when I came to live here in Dublin, and I haven't moved since.
Yeah. So is your wife, you said, or the woman you met, is she your wife now? Or are you?
She's my partner. Yeah. You see, with April Fools, like we tried to joke about that, but I just can't convince her to marry me.
Oh yeah, okay. But is she Irish? Is that?
She's Irish and she's a practitioner as well. Yeah. We qualified the same year. Yeah. Which helps a lot. And I know that it's one thing that comes up a lot in conversations with colleagues and stuff like that. That it really helps the fact that on the other side, not only you know, it's different for us. We can pick up the phone and ring a colleague or, you know, ask for help or whatever. I have the privilege that I could just go downstairs. Yeah. You know, it really, really helps. And, you know, the whole process and things kind of, I know things happen for a reason, but the help and the process when I needed a little bit more, you know, she was there, even though sometimes it didn't look like, or I wasn't really looking for that help, that support was there. And a few weeks later, a few months later, I go, oh, hang on, yeah, that's why she was doing that. And the same thing, like there was a time because of moving from medical centers to her own private clinic, and you know, things were a little bit kind of up and down. And again, for me, it was like, okay, now I need to just support a little bit more. But I just find it easier in that sense that we know what it takes, and we know what it's like to be a practitioner. You know.
Yeah. You know, if someone were to ask me what the number one key to my, you know, the success that I've, you know, had in my career, it would be my wife. You know, I've had mentors and people that I've learned so much with, but with that support, she's not a practitioner, but she is really involved in everything I do. She's my boss. Let's just say it how it is. Yeah. You know, it's that teamwork. And so you guys, when you came out of school together, did you, or from China or however, you said there was some journey where you weren't practicing together. Are you in a clinic together now, or can you kind of give people a bit of a timeline and what you did from when you got out of Beijing?
Yeah, so the as I said, like when we finished, we were already practicing when we got that opportunity to go to Beijing, but we still are in separate clinics. Although since the work with the fertility, which is kind of, I suppose, was like 2008, 2009, was the it would have been because the Beijing Olympics were 2008, so 2009 was when we kind of got more into the fertility side of things. where we still have separate clinics, but now we are a lot more interchangeable. So there wouldn't be a problem with a patient of mine. Like, I've actually one good example from this week where the fertility clinic is way closer to Siobhan's clinic. So it's easier for that patient to, if she needs to go to Siobhan's clinic and see her, then drive to go to my clinic. So we're still not working in the same clinic as such, just because of logistics and the way that things are. But yeah, we're pretty much working together. You know, the patients know about it as well, so we could easily turn up in each other's clinic and it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, oh, cool. So so you started out, I mean, is it a classic story of how most practitioners start out? You know, you rented some space and then you built your clientele and then you found your own clinic space, and same for your wife, or?
Yeah. Same as she actually got it was really good for her. Straight out of college, she got to work in medical center scenario. So that was really good, and you can imagine like the hoo-ha at the time. So this would have been early 2007, and like Chinese medicine and acupuncture in the medical center, that was a big deal.
It's pretty new.
And yeah, you know, even for the health system to actually be okay with that. You know, that was really good. So at the time, so that was the first clinic, was just it was in Dublin, not too far from where we live, and the guys were just really impressed. I had my own clinic just slightly outside Dublin, and the guys were just really good, and they really impressed with her work as well, and they just kept adding her to because they were a medical chain, so they had different different clinics, and just kept going to. At one stage she was working in 4 clinics.
Oh wow, yeah.
and when the other ones were added to which is like here Dublin would be kind of like the north side and the south side, and when the ones on the north side were added, she was like, I'm not doing any more.
yeah. Too stretched.
And like as you're saying it's a good way of putting it. Like the typical at that stage, so early 2007, I still had my job, like the day job, like the typical acupuncturist story, and I had my clinic that was going, you know, whenever I had time, being the evening, being the Saturday, you know, just going. And once the opportunities then came with the medical centers, then that was it, like making the decision and just take that leap of faith. And I know I call her, Siobhan's going to watch this, and she's going to say, can you edit this? And it wasn't so much a leap of faith insofar it was more a kick up the arse to do it.
Yeah, we can be real here for sure.
Yeah, you know, so I need to, you know, hands up, and yeah, it wasn't so much the leap of faith, it was more to kick up the arse of, what are you doing? You're like working 2 or 3 clinics at that stage and trying to keep, look, it's crazy. So that was the leap of faith.
The leap of faith. So you're in your private clinic now. Is she still practicing in the medical?
Private as well.
Yeah, private as well. So now from there, obviously she built quite a reputation and had tons of people loving her, and you as well by that time. And so you're in your own space. So just for the picture, have you guys brought on, you know, reception or associates or anything? Because we're a long way past what you're talking about now. So what's kind of happened since?
So what changed basically was our clinic is much bigger now as it is. So she's still working on her own. So there's still 1 room, 1 person, and we do have. So we outsourced the receptionist. So we do have someone to answer the phone and work that out. We do have actually from Vancouver we have Jane app as well. So Jane does all the electronic working at the clinics and the patients' files and all that sort of stuff. So we do, you know, throughout the years, kind of things change a little bit, just kind of like almost like that automated, the stuff that we didn't have to do, just keep on going. The thing about the associates and even the multiple rooms, I still work in 2 clinics, and that's just the way my brain works. And I was in 3 clinics up until recently, and it's just, look, there's too much going on, and we can go through all the other projects that I do, and even with the masters, but 2 clinics at the moment, and it's just a change, you know. You go to 1 clinic, it's a different setting, and then you go to the other clinic, so it works out okay. but since if we can take it over again from about like 2009-ish, when Johnny White kind of for some reason which she won't tell us, we keep asking her why, but she won't tell us why she took this interest in the two of us, and it was like, I want you guys to come with me.
Right on.
So there was
Jenny's
a lot
awesome.
of so there was a lot of trips going back and forth to the UK and doing training with her and learning loads with her, and then it followed from there with, I think the next one would have been either Deborah or Sarah, and which was quite close as well, and from then on Jane Littleton and so on and so on and so on. When things kind of really got into the fertility side of things, and then the pregnancy as well, first of all, there's not that many practitioners here in Ireland that would, it's a small place to start with, but there's not many that would like to just focus on the one particular area.
Right.
And which I can understand that it's difficult. It's a little bit easier, again, going back to the point that it's the two of us. We can help each other. Right. We were, again, lucky with the right place, the right time, the work ethics, whatever it is that Johnny just said, look, I'm going to help you guys. And so we had great help from building from the ground up that reputation and the knowledge. And it was mainly our decision just to stick to, as you said, it's fine. We get the odd, there's a pain here, pain there, and you kind of go, oh, I got to do something different today, But basically doing those, and it just became, for us, not having access to a wide variety of people who would actually just want to work in one specific area, but also for us to have multiple rooms or to have other people working with us, we prefer that touch, that one-to-one thing. So we still do the one room only. Siobhan has one clinic. Granted, he has a bigger clinic, and in Dublin it's near enough two of the big, well, three if you consider the other one is like 10-15 minutes down the road from but there's one of the fertility clinics is literally just 2 floors up. So
nice. So you guys essentially are associates with one another. I mean, such an advantage. Right?
I know. Yeah.
So that's cool. I actually didn't know you're connected with Janny. She's super unique lady. I love her. I've had dinner with her a few times in the past, and I love her. So you must be. I wonder if she's still running it. She used to have something called maybe the Wellwood or Wood Clinic or something about referring to male erections.
Goodwood, Goodwood. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's
so
great.
You know what was really cool? So I know I'm half joking, and if she's watching this, she's going to kill me. But it's one of those things that you just want to find out, almost like, why did you pick the two of us? Why? And she's like, I'm not telling you. Johnny, like, I'm not telling you.
Right.
But so last year, I kind of had my little revenge on that, because there was something that she didn't know about until the moment when it happened. And it was the great opportunity, and I'm really thankful for Lauren to allow me to do it. But I got to, without Johnny knowing, I got to introduce her at the IFS.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
So it was a very, very funny moment. I don't even know if, because it was just before the whole thing, I don't even know if this is recorded or not. But it was so cool because Lauren is on stage and she's there, kind of ready to go, and Lauren starts walking away, and she's like, so who's going to introduce me? And he just looks back with his face and goes, and keeps walking away. And she's like, what's happening here? And I'm just kind of hiding behind, and I just, she looks at me and she goes, you? And I said, yeah, there you go. So,
cool.
So for me, to be there and to be, to have that opportunity of, in front of everyone, our peers, basically, the people that work the most with the, with acupuncture and fertility, and to be able to tell everyone, this is one of the main reasons why I got into this aspect, this particular field, and it was a good moment, yeah. And she was in a bit of a shock, and it was great. I got my little revenge as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. She's awesome, and you obviously are as well. And that is a great conference, and I'm excited to see you at it again, or at it this year. It's a month, not even, I guess.
Yeah.
Here soon, right? So you from Janny to focusing on reproductive health to also you mentioned being in a master's program right now and running clinic, and so what's all happening right now? What's going on? And you've got AccuVlog, and you're running some seminars, I know, with Lauren and a couple other people. You got a lot of balls in the air. What are these balls? Yeah.
So you see that the time here in Ireland apparently goes way slower than anywhere else in the world.
Well, that's a good advantage.
I don't know. Look, it's all a bit crazy, how things happen, and sometimes you're just there, it's just the click happens, and I'm a guy who likes to do things, I don't really like spending much time, although I like the planning of it all. I don't really like spending too much time talking about it, and wouldn't it be great if. So
you're not a good politician then, probably.
Someone said once about politicians is say nothing and keep saying it. I suppose. Look, at one stage, Johnny was actually there when the involvement from one of so there's two associations here in Ireland, and for one of them, Johnny was overdoing a weekend lecture for one of those, and she was like, "I'm not staying in a hotel. I'm staying with you guys. Like, there's no way they're going to put me up in a hotel." And I was like, "Okay, as long as they're okay with that." And they were like, "And you're coming along with me?" And I'm like, "Okay." So the two of us got into to see her for the 2 days, and it was good refreshment on the stuff that she was doing at the time. Actually, at the time, she was just about doing the Goodwood stuff over in the UK, and the association just kind of took that interest in would you like to come on board and help, and there would it's a volunteer position, so they're always looking for people doing things, and who knows who and whatever, and that's what got me into the executive committee of the association. So the next time that there were it's like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even more, when my name was up for voting, and I was voted in. So nice. I was always active enough, so for me to help and to do things, and from that point on, it was, the more you're seen doing things, I suppose the more people are going to ask you, isn't the so in so the opportunity came up to do the masters. That would have been, so I'm now in year 3, so that would have been like 3.5 years ago or so, and it's a college. Again, I knew about Middlesex University, obviously, because of the whole story. And I knew someone who was doing Sarah Budd was doing the program already, which was the first time that they were running it online. And I was like, right. Sarah, if Sarah can do this, I should just give it a shot as well. Why not? So, why not? Because you have plenty of time,
Oh, yeah.
So, and again, when you link the whole thing together, the leap now into more the research side of things, again, doesn't that go back to the childhood again and finding out the opening it up and finding out how it works? So it kind of looked natural to me. I suppose I don't want to say it sounds like a big head, but I'm that kind of academic in the sense of I like to learn more about things. So going back to college wasn't a big issue for me. It was finding the hours to do the stuff was an issue. And as time developed, and getting into a little bit of the politics because of the work with the professional association and all that, getting to know more and more people, and things just kind of developed from there. And where we are now, I'm doing the dissertation for my master's, which is tough going. It's a great experience, but it's tough going. And as you said, the AccuVlogs, the acupuncture vlog was another crazy idea that just happened. The back in February we had Dr. Gil Barzilai here in Dublin. He's up until recently was the head of research for the European TCM Association. Okay. And we talked about this in October. Siobhan and I were in the hotel room. We were in Krakow in Poland going to a conference.
Okay.
And we said, wouldn't it be cool, like, you know, just ask him and see, like, he's doing this in other places. Maybe he would like to go to Dublin. And, you know, that was like mid-October. And in, I think Gil said, about 2 weeks, everything was sorted and done and whatever.
Cool.
So when he was here in February, I got to obviously go up and introduce him and whatever. And that's actually on Facebook, because that bit was recorded live. And I said, you know, thanks for being here and, you know, accepting the idea. You know, it's the first time that anyone is doing this in Ireland, you know, especially with research. It's not really that hot topic, really. But, you know, some of us have a passion and whatever. So I introduced him, and he gets the microphone, and he goes, well, first of all, I want to thank Sandro, because he's just the guy to make crazy ideas happen. Cool. And that kind of, since then, that kind of stayed with me, and it's like, oh, yeah.
That's my new job title.
That's my new job. Isn't it? And he actually said that none of the other places that he went to do the 2-day lecture worked like this. Like, there was no way they got everything organized from mid-October to the beginning of February and everything is done and dusted. Right. But again, it's that thing. We know the people, you know, the two of us work together as well. So that's where the idea about the bringing people and instead of just the online experience, actually bringing people to Ireland to do the lectures. Again, you know, taking advantage of the fact that I've met them, either I know them really well or I've met them before and I've no problem in asking them. As you know from the vlog, I've had loads of people coming up. You know, the one of the parts of the vlog is called the interviews with the experts. So get to know the people, get to network, and then just ask, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? They can say no. Yeah. So what? You know, ask someone else, you know. But always with that thing about just trying to do more for the profession. You know, it's the way I see it is that you can sit there and complain that, oh, this, you know, it's tough and, you know, we're isolated because it's an island and everything happens in the UK, nothing happens here, and you go, well, just let's do something about it and see how it goes. You know, it's a journey.
It's kind of an entrepreneurial spirit where you can make something manifest from nothing, and you're doing that clearly, right? So that principle of adding value to the profession, is that, you know, I feel like in clinic that is always my driving force and maybe a key to longevity and success in the long run. And so for you, you know, I remember discovering the stories and habits in psychology that, you know, of wonderful people like yourself. Is that one of the main principles that guide you every day?
Isn't it cool though? And I'm so happy you asked that, because a lot of the times this is the bit that goes amiss with practitioners. But look at how much we have learned from our patients.
Right. Yep.
Isn't it like we get to know loads of stories, we get to know loads of people, I get to know about subjects that I had no idea, just because, you know, you end up seeing the people a few times, you know, might be a few consecutive weeks or whatever, and you get to know a bit more about what they do, how they do it, you know, their profession might be something completely different, but something that you had some interest in, you get to chat. And this is actually part of the reason for me, I don't think that I'm at a place where I would want to either work the 2 rooms at the same time or have associates. I'm happy enough with, I'm there for the person, and that's that little bit extra value that I'm giving is, I'm here. Yeah. You know, some patients don't like to say too much. That's fine too. Yeah. You know, but it's a little bit like you're there to do something for them. Right. How much more can you help them? How much more can you guide them? Right. You know, and a lot of the times, you know, we're not going into the specifics of it all, but a lot of the times, like, the needle is just the instrument, and it's how you connect with the person. And, you know, we can go through, and I know with my involvement with research, you can go through the whole thing with, you know, oh, is that then placebo? Is that, like, who cares if the person gets better? You know, you're there to do a job, and your job is to get that person better. So I'm all up for value. Yeah, definitely.
And for the profession. I mean, obviously, you know, all this stuff you're doing is for, you know, the way I view it, and maybe you have a similar view, and I know Lauren, same, if we play a role in creating a solid industry, we all have job security, and we get to help more people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's, again, we go back to the same principle. You could either sit down and complain about it and say that, oh, it's really unfair because, the other industry, they have way more money and they have way more backing than we do, or you can go and do something about it. To me, the main question is always, are you having fun?
Right.
Like, are you enjoying it? Because if you're not enjoying it, then just, no, go and do something else, give me $1 million and work on a 9-to-5 clinic that you get to do the same thing over and over. And I'm like, really? Yeah, $1 million would be really good, but I'd be bored. And for how long can you be doing that? New opportunities, discover things. For the profession, it's a tough one because it's a different scenario now, working with the working with the girls over there in Canada with the OBAA. I get to know a little bit more about Canada because of working with Mel with the evidence-based acupuncture. I get to know a little bit about the US as well. It's different in the sense that for a long time, it's same thing in the UK as well as Ireland. There was always that idea of kind of like being in isolation,
right?
And a lot of us, and I know this is controversial because I'm generalizing here, but there are still a lot of practitioners out there that have this idea of it's the world against us, everyone is against us, And again, if you take on that attitude, eventually it'll just break you.
Right.
And just go and think big, do big. And that's okay. It's not going to be rose in the garden because we're not all going to work together and be best buddies all together, but do we have something to offer?
Right.
I still remember one of the first vlogs, it would have been like vlog 2 or 3 or something like that, when someone asked me, God, yeah, how did you get her to come on your vlog and do that interview? And I was like, what do you mean?
It's
like, they're like, yeah, I heard that like she's really expensive for her lectures. And I'm like, I just asked her. And again, it's the same thing. A lot of the times you don't even ask or you don't even engage because you're already afraid that it's going to be a negative from the other side. But a lot of us that are out there, look, I'm in practice now 11 plus years, whatever it is, but I was in practice for 1 year and I was a novice. Everybody started somewhere. And just because I'm in practice 11 years doesn't mean that there's not going to be someone coming from college in 1 year and just be like way more knowledgeable than I am.
Right.
But again, that's all the stuff that you can learn from the books, all the extra stuff that you do and how you engage with your peers, how you engage with your patients, all that building up for all of us, as you were saying. Why not? How cool would it be that we were all on the same page and, do you need a bit of help? And, you contacted me to come on your platform and I was like, yeah, of course. Yeah, let's find the time.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's that helping, isn't it? And everyone benefits and the patients benefit.
Totally. Bottom line, right?
I don't know about you, and I've seen some of you. I've seen some of your episodes, especially the one with Mike was really cool. He's a really cool dude. But I know some of the names and everything, and I was thinking, here's the example. How much more we can just ask and just do stuff. But a lot of people might look at that, and maybe I would have done that. The first or second year after college, and I would be like, why are you doing it? Like, what's the benefit? Who's going to watch it? I was really surprised. I don't know if it happens with your platform, but some of my patients actually watch the vlogs.
Oh yeah, I believe that. Right? They find you, right?
And you kind of go, really? You watch like whatever, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, some of the bigger interviews of talking about like basically Chinese medicine and acupuncture stuff, and said, oh yeah, it was really interesting. And the language is. It's easier because you create this nice chat and people can relate to it. I was surprised that patients were watching it, but thanks for watching anyway.
Well, And maybe that goes to the adage of, we need to be ourselves. We need to be authentic. We shouldn't pretend to be anyone we're not, because that's going to come back to bite us. And that's a good example. If your patients are out there, they're ultimately trying to connect to a human and get results, or be coached, or have support, or whatever role it is that we play. So we need to be really authentic, and always kind of be mindful that we're not throwing a bunch of bullshit out there, and stay accountable. But I had one of my favorite teachers, and anyone who went to school in Vancouver to this specific college would know Dr. Liu Feng. He's about as dynamic a character as you can get. I'm pretty sure he lives on Fuzi or something, and one of the first things he said, he's like, don't go through school and be a TCM monk. He's like, get out there, talk to people, make things happen. We've got to build, this medicine. Because the more I get to know the people that are attracted to acupuncture or Chinese medicine, and what it can truly do, because it's such a holistic piece, and it's so natural, and it's never dependent on new technology, or it can be, but it's not dependent on it. The more I'm just like so motivated to help, and so many more people are to help the industry blossom. And once we've been there for a while, maybe that's partly our responsibility, right? Is to connect and keep the humanness in it, and grow, and just share stories. Like I was so appreciative at how quickly you're like, yeah, of course, shit, I'm coming on the show. Why not? And that's why I love the stories too, because I think, there's school, and then there's some business advice, how to do Facebook ads, or what, all super important. But then also the stories, so people feel less alone at how they're trudging through, and how eventually they'll get there. But that not being a TCM monk, which you're really great at, you've got zeal, you've got, you're ready to go out there and connect, and very likable. And what was that born into you? Someone watching it's like, well, how can I kind of cultivate that? How can I blossom? Were there any influences, or any fantastic books, or authors, or mentors, or your parents? I don't know.
So now you want me to share all the secrets? Is this the way it works?
Yeah, that's the whole premise.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words. I don't know. Well, maybe it helps. So one of the other side of things that I can relate a little bit to is the fact that I was always big into music, and started playing guitar from really, really young. And one of the things that the music school did was and still do to this day, is that they have the Christmas party, and you have to go up and play something. Even if it's your first year of learning the instrument, you still go up and play something really, really simple. And I'll tell you one thing, that makes you, when you're really, really early teens, that makes you really scared, and there's all the people in the room and whatever. And within the second year of being in music school, you lose the fear of being on stage. Nice. I think that either the second or third year, I co-hosted the show with one of my colleagues. So, nice. So I don't know. I think that the being natural is the key. Like if you were to ask me, like you did, is there a secret, or is there a mentor? I don't really. I'm not really. Again, I'm not modeling myself on anyone. This is what you see on camera, is what you see in the clinic, is what you see out there. And look, I totally get it, and I totally understand. There could be a lot of other practitioners that could be watching this and going like, I don't like that guy, and I don't like his style at all. And that's fine. Like, not all patients like my style either. But I think that's what connects us a little bit with the patients as well. So as you were saying, and I was thinking about the example, how many times have you had in the clinic, a patient, and they just come from their MD or GP or whatever it is, and you say, well, did you ask them about this, or did you ask them about that? And they go, oh, no, I didn't know. And a lot of the times they don't do because of fear, and there's that, here in Ireland, people are going to kill me for saying this, but there's a thing about, you don't question the priest, you don't question the GP.
Right.
It's like they're up there, and if they say, the fridge is black, then you go, well, it looks white, but if you say it's black, then that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you.
Right.
And that's just because there's that barrier between, and look, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying go and give your mobile phone to all your patients or, there are boundaries. But in terms of the connection, I would much prefer that my patients come in, even if it's their first time in the clinic, even if it's out there, even if I'm working at one of the conferences as part of the EBA or as part of the OBAA, I don't mind. And someone having that ease of just coming to me and asking me a question. I said to you at the start of the show when I was saying to you about Angela Hicks, this happened 2 years ago. Right. Siobhan thought it was hilarious because for the whole weekend, I was like starstruck. I was like, I can't. She was like, why don't you just go and talk to her? Siobhan is way more practical than I am, And I was like, because it's Angela Hicks. Like, you don't just go and talk to her. And at one stage, Siobhan was like, I don't believe this. Like, you've been on camera, you've been on stage.
Doesn't seem like you, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is wrong with you? And I'm like, it's Angela Hicks. Like, come on. And then we get to chat, and in a few minutes, like, we're all emotional and going, oh, my book. And she was like, oh, my God, after all these years and having people like you saying that my book influenced them and whatever. And I'm like, this was way easier than I thought. Yeah. So it's all about keeping it real and being relatable. And that is the one thing that between the clinic, between my life, the personal life, between, chatting to you, between the AccuVlogs, everything there's been very, very few people that have asked me for help or have asked me for something. And I was, like, oh no, I'm not going to do that, because be open, be helpful. And, what is it? The movie Siobhan loves, the movie, The Pay It Forward, Just be yourself and just get out there. I can tell you that recently, within the last 2 months or so, the college asked me to do a presentation for a shorter version of what I have about social media and practitioners using social media. And it's like it's always a challenge when you have something that is set for like half an hour or an hour, and then you have to make it shorter. Like, what am I going to chop out of this? But it was a very good experience because it was they wanted like my top 10 tips, and I remember coming up with the first draft, and I was like, this is just like common sense. Like, everyone else is going to look at this and go, God, well, I knew that, but actually I ended up adding one thing, which was I added that, and so like I know it sounds all like common sense, and I know that, but have you done it though?
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it's just about, go out there and do it. Yeah. It might fall in your face and might not be what you expected it to be, but try it. Yeah. Have you seen some of the first vlogs?
No, I would check those out though.
No, don't. You don't have to. Actually, probably the first, I'm going to say 2 or 3 recordings, that I was kind of like, I recorded them, edited them, and was like, okay, no, I can't do this. Let's record again. Yeah. And what you see as kind of like the episode 1 and episode 2 and 3, those ones are like episode 5 or 6 or 7. Yeah. But it was the experience, and it was the doing stuff. And I remember that from work, even in electronics, and then even now with research is the same thing, with the dissertation, even with work with the EBA. It's like, we could sit around and talk about it for ages, right. Or I can go and I added this to my talk because I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to find out what's the best camera. Yeah. How am I going to edit this? The microphone, whatever. I must have spent like, and I'll be honest, probably the good guts of half a day looking at videos until I realized that I haven't done anything yet.
Right.
How hard can it be? Just get the phone or get the computer or just record something, see what it looks like. Yeah. And it brought me back to the music time as well, where you can have all these ideas and all these lyrics and music in your head. If you don't put it down, they're just ideas. Right. That would be my number one advice, is just go and do it. Do something. Record yourself. If you're not into that, write stuff, write stuff, type it down, print it, read it as if it wasn't yours. Are you happy enough with that going on your website? Are you happy enough with that being an article for someone? Are you happy enough with that going on the leaflets for your patients? But do something.
Do something. Well, if I love that, and as you're saying that, it's a question that I ask commonly, and I think there's no magic answer, but of course I ask the question anyway. But for newer practitioners, one of the biggest stumbling blocks is when you're confident in your clinic with a patient, they feel that, they trust you, and trust in relationship is huge, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're starting out, it's terrifying a bit. That we all remember that first patient walking into the room is like, oh my God. But that is true. There's no magic bullet how you'll produce courage, or you've got to dive in though. And these are great tips to start. Start writing a presentation, even if you don't even have a gig to do it at. Record yourself, because everything changes when you turn on a camera, even if you don't intend on sharing it to the world. And if you do, kudos. But I love that advice. That is a great tip. I was going to ask for any obviously great tips, and that's a good one. Thank you for sharing that.
I was adding a few things to the longer presentation today, and I was checking out who the quote was from, and it's Eddie Cantor that said that it takes 20 years to achieve overnight success.
Yes.
And people, isn't it? I was like, I'm kind of like OCD like that. I need to know exactly who was it that said it. So I was like, I'm happy enough. I have it written down now. It's part of the lecture. Yeah. I mainly because of seeing that so many times, and I hear you, you're coming out of college and you just don't know, you don't even know where to start. And if you're alone, again, I do have that extra advantage that I was with someone who, just qualified with me. So we're together in that momentum of building up the practice. But the way that we did things was just by doing things, it's a bit like, write your business plan and, your clinic space. There was no business plan for the first, we were renting, like what you were saying. There's that uncertainty of what if the person doesn't want to rent the space anymore? What if the clinic changes, or what if the clinic closes? But the important thing was to do something. Right. And I see that a lot because people, get to know me a little bit, like through social media and everything. And the black and white scenario of, is social media good, is social media bad? Oh, I don't do it because it's always very fascinating that we come from this background of traditional Chinese medicine and, Chinese philosophy and, even with things like Buddhism and Taoism and all that. But then to other things, we're so, no, this is the way it is.
Right.
Sometimes you have that with, no, I only do Zhang Fu. That's it. Right. Oh no, I only do 5 elements.
Dogmatic.
And isn't it? At times I just kind of step back and go, really? I thought that the whole yin and yang thing, and a little bit of one and a little bit of the other one, and everyone is together, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, I love people watching because of that. A bit of diagnosis, a bit of just be in the room and kind of sense what the vibe is, and it's just. I don't see things as being good or bad. Right. Like we're saying about the recording or your first video or your first article or your first presentation. You were saying that's a very good advice. Write something, because, you might not have a gig now, but what if someone rings you tomorrow?
Yeah.
Tell you one thing, if someone rings you tomorrow and you don't have that ready, you don't have a gig then.
Yeah. You got it. And someone asks you something as simple as, so what do you do? If that isn't on the tip of your tongue, a nice, right? Relatable, elevator pitch or whatever you want to call it, then that's a first step, and
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, you see this so many times, going back to the social media of, no, I don't have a Facebook account because, Facebook is bad, and now I have the whole thing with security. I got to actually pay more attention to that than the Facebook is bad. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? If you don't really have that much personal information there, they didn't really have anything to steal off you.
Right, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, do you really need to have all your personal information there,
Right.
or do you use it just for, it's another mean to get to people.
Right.
Like, we all remember the days of having the golden pages or yellow pages, depending on what part of the world you're. But
Yeah.
that was an ad. That was what you wanted people to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Social media, you can easily do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can put down whatever you want people to see, your clinic, what you do, that's fine. And in a way, going back to the, being genuine, you see that a lot from the AccuVlogs. If I'm at a conference, I'm going to record from there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to record everything.
No. Yeah. No. Some stuff stays in Tel Aviv, right?
Right. Yeah. But it's all to do with how you use it. Same thing for the medicine as well. You have a sharp object in your hand. The way that you use it, for that particular patient, there's the best appropriate way and there's the not really appropriate way.
Right,
so
right.
It's all about utilizing the tools that you have. And I was always one for the more tools, the better.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm all up for more.
Well, you got, you keep saying about being alone, and that is tougher. I get that. You had your wife, Lauren and I were together, from inception, and it was, kind of a brotherhood, and we just bounced off each other, and
Yeah.
we're like little kids almost. But, with social, that was pre-social media, really. I remember Facebook evolving. But today, just you stimulated an idea. It's like, well, you can have your opinion of personal social media or whatever, but it can be a tool that wears many masks. So go out and find someone. It's like, well, I don't know how to write or what. Go out and find people to collaborate with. It's like, does anyone want to write an article together with me on PCOS?
Yeah.
Sandro would say yes, or just connect and find community that way if that's it. And you'll find your little tribe as long as you're yourself, not trying to be, a Shanghan Lun expert and when you're not, or whatever it might be. Just be yourself, be authentic, and you'll find your TCM peeps.
And it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it.
Right.
Right? Just, okay, it didn't work out. We all had failures. Some of my clinics and some of my clinical ideas didn't really work out well. Some of my vlogs didn't work out well. But you learn from it. And again, I always go back to that quote, it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it. Like bouncing things, off Lauren, I think in person we met at one of the BACC conferences, and it was like, again, as you're saying, sometimes you just click with someone and you just get working. It was the same. It was the same thing. I'm only laughing because I know that Siobhan has seen the chemistry between the two of us. But it was the same thing in September when Mel picked up the phone, or actually she emailed me first, and saying that here I am now with the evidence-based acupuncture, and I would really like you to join and to help out. And
Right.
I still have a little bit of a difficulty with saying no to someone.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, of course, yeah. And one of the funny things that she mentioned shortly after that, we had a couple of conferences then that we went together as kind of like trying to bring EBA to the forefront. And someone asked her, how did you get him? Or someone asked me, it could have been in the UK at the conference, because there was a lot of people from college there, so they knew I was doing the masters, and something in the likes of how did you get him to help you, whatever. And she was just like really, really simple, really casual. She goes, well, if you want something done, just ask a busy person.
Right.
and it kind of if I could take it, and I know if there's someone watching this just out of college, they're going to say, oh, that's easy for you to say, but it is. You just need to do things because other things will follow.
Right. Inertia.
Isn't it? Like if you're just sitting there and going, well, I'm not going to do this, talking to other MDs, I'm not going to do it because they don't want to listen. Well, just try it.
Right. And
as you start doing things, people will start noticing you, and like I have no secrets on the stuff that I do. I shoot most of the stuff on either the computer camera or with the phone, edit with iMovie. it was funny that the at that little talk a couple of months ago with the college. So that was for recent graduates
Right.
and guys from the third year, so the final year.
Right.
And guess what the first question was? What gear do you use to record? And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Got tons to learn today.
Isn't it? But to a certain extent, we kind of all do that. I remember doing that with music as well. Oh, that sounds great. I wonder what gear they're using. It was never, I wonder how long they'd have to practice to get to that point.
Right.
So it's the interaction. What you're saying about getting that vibe, and even getting the to learn from people as well. You learn from your patients, you learn from other people. That was one of the questions. And another one of the guys asked me, how do you, especially then with the involvement with the evidence-based acupuncture, how do you respond to the trolls?
Right.
And I was like, I don't.
You can't, yeah.
But you know what? And I could understand again, it's always, I know it's kind of like common sense, but here's a very good advice that I always give to everyone. Just put yourself on the other side.
Right.
They're asking that question. It could have been you. And at some stage, maybe it was you, or maybe you had that question in your head and you didn't ask. But it's a very good question, and we had a discussion about this because I asked Mel, I'm going to put myself out there. People are going to know that I'm involved in the project. This is likely to happen. So how do we reply to someone who's just like, a complete skeptic and this is a no-no? And, we talked about this before, so I know she's not going to be annoyed, but she was like, well, if that happens, just go for a pint.
Yeah. Perfect.
I was like, but they're asking, and if it's in public and whatever, and she goes, if they're like that, you're not really going to change your opinion, so why even bother?
Yeah. Good
I'm
advice.
Like,
wow.
Oh, I get it. If they're not mode, and if they're trolling you, or if they're not mode that they've declared themselves as skeptics,
right?
You're not going to change them.
Yeah.
So utilizing your energy towards that's probably what they want, because then you're not doing something useful.
Yeah.
So there's another good advice for someone starting. Just do the stuff that is really useful.
And then you'll take away, those people will take away time from you serving your tribe,
right?
And so that's beautiful advice, because I think that's why most people don't put themselves out there, because inevitably people are going to tell you how shitty you are at something, and it hurts. Like I know, don't take it personally, but that's like a muscle you have to develop, or and the advice of just leaving it, because that, you should use that same energy to the people that really care and are learning from you, and you won't please everybody.
Remember the thing about, it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it.
Yeah.
We all had those patients in the clinic that, when you get the phone call, or when you get the text, or when you get the email to say that, it was a negative pregnancy test, or after a positive, they go for their scan, and, unfortunately, there was no fetal heart pull. Those hurt, and, it's not because of you. It's not because of the person. It's not their fault. It's not your fault. It's tough and it's difficult. But you need to learn from those two, and go over your case study and just go through the whole history, and if there's anything that you can find that you go, okay, so the next time that a case like this comes again, I know what happened here. Try and learn and try to develop from it. But you can't beat yourself, because we all make mistakes. We all, at some stage, we've all done something. That's why you were saying that it's so important, to have those mentor figures and to, learn a little bit. You're not going to become just like one of them.
Yeah.
You don't read just one TCM book. You're going to take little bits and pieces from everywhere. So, be active and be kind. There's another thing that is the what became the end of the vlogs. The be kind and be healthy. Kindness again sounds like common sense, but are we doing it all the time?
Right.
Are we helping others? Are we there to share?
Right.
Just be kind.
Yeah. Words hurt. a lot. Something so simple can change a person's week, and you just flung it out there like it was, nothing. So being kind. That's so Ellen DeGeneres. My wife loves her, and that's her. She's big on being kind. She's great, right? Yeah. But I'm not going to do it justice here, but to surmise what you're just speaking about, Rumi, the poet, said something along the lines of mistakes that crack you open is where the light is allowed to finally shine in. So you get to know yourself more and more. And and the more you put yourself out there, the bigger the mistakes you make, and that's just a part of it. If you're not uncomfortable, I think it's Tony Robbins that says, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And to me, growth and contribution are spiritual values that I hold almost higher than anything else, and they've served me fairly well. So I love that. And you also, the just do it, building relationships being important, and that ultimately is what you're talking about. Get out there. Almost no one is untouchable in the TCM industry. You can pretty much try to reach out to, you had your starstruck moment, but after, it's like, oh yeah, you're a human, and thank you so much for talking to me, Sandro. Just get out there and do it. Yeah, don't be that TCM monk. I'm tossing around ideas for the title for the podcast now in my head, because I like to summarize it. So, and these are great key messages. I so appreciate you highlighting them, because they're not simple business principles. They're not simple, like, here's how you manage your clinic principles. They're big overarching principles that apply to life. Yeah.
Yeah, on one side of things is even thinking about the whole aspect of the acupuncture vlog, and thinking, I've had a lot of people asking me, like practitioners, and people asking me, like, why are you doing it, and how is it benefiting? Again, whenever you talk to other practitioners, it's like, is it making any money? And I'm like, not right now, but hopefully is making me comfortable with the camera. Right. It's I learned a new skill. I had no idea. It was the first time ever of using iMovie was when I had to edit the very first one.
You're right.
I had no idea how to do it. It's all about when your clinic is a little bit quieter, just learn something new.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Just learn a new skill. And to me, it was a bit like that. And I like the whole thing. So even if I'm allowed to, I'll just give you a little bit of how it actually came about, because it's funny the whole thing with college. So on the first semester of the second year, I took the one of the modules was the business module, and it was actually innovation in business or something like that. And it was like, how can you try and come up with some innovation on something that is like 2,000 plus years old, Right. So it's like, okay, so what am I going to do? What are my goals? You sit down and you start going, where do you want to get to? And, it's no good looking at the horizon and that's where I want to get to, because you're never going to get there. So like, where do you want to get to? And I was like, okay, I really enjoyed when I had the opportunity to lecture and to speak. I really wanted to go back to that. But like, nobody's going to give me an opportunity if I don't put myself out there. Yeah. It's a bit like your patients. When you start, you have only a few of them, but then they talk to other people and they say, like, oh yeah, it was really good, and it was kind, and I got better, and then you get more and more and more. Right. But people have to see you first. So because of music, one of the evenings we're going to a gig and going on the bus, and there was some, like, I just looked at as I was going to sit down, and Siobhan was in front of me, and I was like, everyone was on their phones, which is kind of like expected-ish, But what got me was that they weren't reading; they were watching stuff.
Right.
Which I thought that if you go back like 8, maybe 10 years ago, everyone would be on Kindle reading stuff, whatever, But now they weren't reading anymore; they were watching stuff, because I could see the movement on the screen, and they had their earphones on, and I was like, oh yeah, people don't even read stuff anymore.
Yeah.
They want to see stuff. So that was kind of the moment when I thought, oh yeah, so instead of writing stuff, I'm going to, still write it, but read it. And how am I going to do that? And it was just kind of, everything just kind of falls into place. And it's like, okay, so it's like giving a lecture. Mm-hmm. I have to learn how to edit. That's fine, because then I can use it on my website as well. That's good. More people will see it. You know, I had no idea how it was going to go, but I just needed to start something. And it's not about, you know, is it making money now, as in, you know, do I get paid for the interviews? Do I get paid? But is money the only value that you get out of that? Right. I remember, I don't know, was it one of your own that you recorded where you said that you felt really selfish because you get to do these and you get to learn loads? Right. And I was like, yeah, that's me as well. Yeah. I'm like, this is great. You know, like the second or third interview I had was with Yvonne Farrell, and I was like, this is like the best lecture ever, and I get it one to one.
Yeah,
great.
Totally. Yeah, create the platform. It's just because you went out and did it and created the platform, and you're just doing it, right? You know, I love what you're saying, and a mentor of mine, or someone I love to have read, or I've read over time, is Jim Rohn, and he speaks to, you know, it's not about that having the $1 million, or it's not about having necessarily or it's not just about having the busy clinic. It's about the person that you need to become in order to accomplish that goal. That is where you need to put your focus. And I love that, because you can't ever catapult. You know, that overnight success is what? What was the quote? I forget.
It takes 20 years to achieve overnight success.
Fact, right? Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's true. Oh my God,
and you know, it's unfair, you know, to have that sort of conversation. Again, I'm thinking about the person, you know, watching this on the other side 1 or 2 years out of college and going, okay, yeah, it's easy for you guys to say that, but listen, we've been there.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And the reason why we got here now, and you know, you're in Canada, you got to hear from me because of social media, not because I was putting, you know, saying things that social media is bad. I was just using it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you go, yeah, get him to come on the show as well, you know, and you do stuff. So I can understand if you're 1 year out of college and you don't have the confidence to talk about one specific field because you haven't done enough on that, that's fine. What else? What's your background? You know, like for example, with me, it was because of electronics, and I had, you know, technology, knowing how to make your website better.
Yeah.
You know, get a website that works really well on mobile, because most people now check it on mobile. If your background is in, you know, say for example, if you were, you know, as a PA or something, well, really work that out in your clinic, that you have the best receptionists, train them to look after your patients, you know, but just start with something, because as you said, and that inertia, just getting to do stuff. Yeah.
You know, I love what Mike Berkeley brought up. 21 years he's been, you know, slugging in Manhattan. That's an uphill journey he's had. Yeah. He's the right guy to do that. But you know, I loved his realism when he said, you know what, I haven't got it all figured out. There's still times where my schedule takes dips, and there's lots of potential in it to fill again, and that's just kind of a bit of the reality. So again, you're expanding into other areas and contributing to the profession. We all kind of at this time have a responsibility to step in how we can, and everyone has their own gift to bring. And their own wisdom and their own, you know, and yeah, I love the encouragement to share and just to step in, just do it. I mean, borrowing from Nike without getting in trouble.
And you know, sometimes there's someone else you had not too long ago, Kirsten. I remember one of the nights that it was because of the business module and having a chat, and it was Kirsten, and I think Lauren was involved as well. It was after one of the webinars or something like that. And one of the things that she said, it still stays with me, and I do it now more so than ever, which she was saying that one of the things for business for her was like, you know, you have to fire fast. Right. If it's not working, you know, and this was because of the associates or, you know, someone working for you and whatever, don't just be, you know, and I'm trying to, you know, we're talking about being kind. I don't want to be mean that I want to just fire someone. But at the end of the day, like, it's your business. Right. And if you are going to be carrying someone, that's going to be bad for you. It's going to be bad for the person, because they're not learning anything anyway, you know. and it's going to be bad for the rest of the team as well. So you have to make a decision, and it's a business decision. And she was like, that's the most common thing that she would see normally, would be that fear of, just fire fast. Right. And a lot of the times I do that with the ideas as well. Not all the vlogs became vlogs. Not, the experience with the with working with the executive committee, with the professional association here, it was okay, but it was getting to a place where it wasn't going the way that it should for me and for the profession. I was like, okay, this is my time to step back now and go. And it's just the way it is. Not everything is going to be $1 million, but as long as you're having fun doing it, if it's not hurting you or your business, just keep doing it. Yeah.
My only caveat to what you were saying that Kirsten said is that there probably would have been an addition of a colorful 4-letter word involved.
I'm not going to get into that.
I love. She's from Texas, man. I know. I love her to death. She's awesome. Yeah. She's brilliant mind.
Yeah, great ideas. Really. Here's the example again that you were saying. People are open. If someone is going to come and talk to me, I'm not going to say, well, sorry, how many years are you qualified? Because I only speak to people that are, I don't really care. Just have a chat. There was a while ago, I can't even remember the context, but something came up, and it was because of the Obstetrical Acupuncture Association. I remember saying to Deborah that something in the likes of, well, I can't say that because I'm only a novice, and she's like, you're in practice more than 10 years. You're not a novice. I know that Siobhan goes on about this. You can't call yourself a kid anymore because the whiz kid is now almost 40. And I'm like, but still a kid, And Deborah said something that stayed with me, which is, at one stage, and this is Deborah saying this, at one stage, I was like you. Yeah. At one stage, I was just out of college. We were all like that. And just because they are, these people that you know so much about because you read their books, you've been to their conference, to their lectures, and you met them at conferences, they are still normal people. And I've never had any problem approaching any of them, and to ask for advice, ask for help, email them, getting them to come on platforms and talking to them. We're all easygoing, really.
Yeah, just do it. And if they say no, big deal. I mean, like you said, move on. And it wasn't supposed to happen.
Fire fast.
Yeah. Or fire fast. Or they'll come back later, and somehow it'll work out. That's probably one of my biggest things in life in the last number of years, practice and life period, is learning to surrender and have faith that what is unfolding is what should be unfolding, and don't fight it too hard. Fun is a good gauge. If you're having a belly laugh every day, that's a good gauge that you're kind of headed in the right direction, right?
Yeah. And even with patients as well, if you think about it, Spence, like, would you, if it's not really working out for some reason, are you really going to hang on to that patient? Are you really going to go, no, let's try something else, let's do, a lot of the times it gets to a point where you say, you know what, I need to refer you to, whatever it is. Yeah. It might be, different acupuncture style. It might be, different medical procedure, whatever it is. Yeah. But you can't just hang on for just you. In a way, it's almost like you're taking yourself out of the picture. And it's like, just here's my best advice, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, you got to be, I'm an advocate for being clear, telling God what you need and what you want. And if you're hanging on to things that you don't want, then that's not clear. Yeah. Universe, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, I have kept you so long, and you're probably waiting for dinner here, but, and I'm so appreciative, and we should, I will do this again, of course, but I want to leave people with how can they connect? What are you needing help or feedback on, and social media platforms or websites? Can you kind of riddle out how people can find you?
So the easiest way, over the last few months, I've really, really revamped the AcuVlog. So it's easy enough to remember, acuvlog.ie for Ireland. Yeah. And all the stuff is there. There's more of the older vlogs that are on the YouTube channel. And again, it's youtube.com/acuvlog. And if I can just do the plug, it's 2 projects that I'm really, really passionate about. One of them, which is the OBAA, the Obstetrical Acupuncture Association, started there in Canada. And it was September, October, that went global, and it's been an amazing experience working with everyone there. Again, really, really open. It's been so great for us to just, every once in a while we go, oh, we should really approach this person, whatever it is in whatever country. And they'll go, oh, I don't know. And we just send an email and they come back, yeah, sure, of course I'm going to help you guys. I'm like, okay. So yeah, the Obstetrical Acupuncture Association, that's ob-acupuncture.com. We're going to be at the IFS as well. So if anyone is there and then wants more information, that's they can come over and talk to all of us.
Awesome.
And the other one, which is really, really good, I know some of the people in our profession don't like to talk about research and have a little bit of a thing about research, but listen, it's, whether we want it or not, it's kind of the language that we have to learn how to speak a little bit of. Right. Otherwise, I know you mentioned this before, can you really talk to people or other practitioners about qi? Not really, because it's not a language that they understand. So the evidence-based acupuncture, which is evidencebasedacupuncture.org, which I've been involved since September, is it's really, really good. Like learning, it's fun. The evidence summaries have been really, really well received by everyone, and we're going to be, Mel's going to be at the IFS as well, so the two of us are going to be there.
Awesome.
And this year is really going to be the push forward to, from my side with the AcuVlog and my network, and her side and knowing more people, just really, really try to put it out there that we're not trying to turn, because we've been accused of this as well, and I use the word accused there because that's what was used against us,
Mm-hmm.
that we are turning Chinese medicine into Western medicine. I'm like, no, we're just trying to take the language and kind of, okay, your MD is never going to understand what you're talking about if you start going on about Qi and Shen and Jingguo and all that. So can we use words that they understand?
Right.
And that's been really the project, and started with Dr. Bartosz Mielnicki in Poland a good few years, I think it was 2014, and it's really getting a little bit more momentum now, and it's all about the language. We're not trying to turn Chinese medicine into anything other than it's acupuncture. Let's use scientific language to explain what's happening so that we can, it's one thing that as you can know by now, I'm really good with my sayings, because my granddad was like that too. At the conference in Tel Aviv, I finished by saying that DM is something that comes from work from many, many years ago, which is the if you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
And then beat them.
Nice.
So it's
nice.
It's a little bit like that, the evidence-based acupuncture is there because there's a lot of people all over the world. Everybody knows about John McDonald and Stephen Yans in Australia with the Acupuncture Evidence Project.
Right.
And there's a lot of people out there that are good at putting that language into ways that the patients can understand and that the public can understand, other medical professions can understand.
Yeah.
And for anyone watching this in Canada and in the US, which hopefully there will be loads of them, we are going to have our first symposium in September.
Oh, cool.
So they can go on the website and check it out. And there's no registration yet because we're just trying to get all the details, because we're going to have CUs and everything's going to be super. So we're going to launch that real soon. Hopefully by the AFS we'll have a better idea. But I've learned loads, and I'm not saying this just because of being there. I've learned loads that has been useful even for my own masters.
Right.
Because it's a language that it's easier for the public to understand. So platforms like yours, and trying to reach out as much as possible, just share it online and get more people to see it. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, give me that website. I'll put it in the show notes for the evidence, and we'll put the OOBA, or I'm so sorry.
OBAA. Yeah, OBAA. Yeah.
Reagan, don't hurt me. But we'll put those up there for people to learn a bit more. But, if I could summarize really simply what evidence has done for Chinese medicine in the reproductive realm, because it's really been a Trojan horse. If Chinese medicine is effective, it's just simply finding a way to try and measure that and interpret it into another language that people can see and hear. And that's it. It just opens a ton of doors. You know, we wouldn't be in IVF clinics if it hadn't been for, you know, Sten or Victor and all, you know, Lee Hollander, all these people, you know, that have pushed for research. And, you know, whatever, I get it. If you can find acupuncture works for something, then you can step back and say, imagine if we applied Chinese medicine as a whole.
Yeah.
I love that. But okay, we'll give those resources for sure. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say to you that, you start with something. People have asked about, you know, are you doing this for acupuncture only? Why aren't you doing it for Chinese medicine? Well, we have to start somewhere, you know, and at this particular moment, well, this is not even our project as such. You know, we always pay the due respect to Dr. Bartosz Mielnicki. He's an MD. He started as an MD, and when he got into acupuncture, he just wanted to use a little bit more of that language to be able to translate it and go, oh, so that's what it is. And, you know, just a very, very quick example of something that happened online a few months ago was someone got in touch with me privately, I think it was through Facebook, that said that, you know, it was wrong what I was doing because they'd been to China and none of their doctors would even want to entertain the idea of Western medicine and they only do Chinese medicine and whatever. And at one point, this guy said it was somewhere in America. It was in LA. I can't remember where he was, but he said that his one of his main mentors, doctors, whatever, in China, where he was studying before, he wouldn't know anything about, you know, the liver or the brain, or wouldn't have to know about neuroscience or anything like that. You know, he just knew that the point. Sorry, I don't do the points by numbers, but it was like, you know. Spleen 1 or kidney 3 or whatever. And I was reading that and I was like furious, going, oh, why did I entertain this? I have this rule of not responding to the ones that are, but then it just got me and I was like, oh, hang on a minute. So his problem with changing the language of acupuncture that we're trying to do and put it a little bit more scientific, the same thing, but just a different language. He's not okay with that, but he was okay with changing the point names from Chinese to numbers.
A Zhang Fu and number. Yeah, which
right?
is crazy, right? Yeah.
And so you see the way that I always say to people, even if it's only a mistake, if you don't learn anything from it, I learned something from that. And it's something that I now use even in my talks. And it's like, look at what I learned from this guy, you know?
Yeah.
You've already changed something. We've changed the names of the points. Like, if you go, like, you've been there, like, if you go to China, they don't use the numbers. They use the names of the points. The points have names, you know? And we've done that before because it makes it easier. We then learn that way, and then it becomes that way. So why such resistance to change some other things?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'm not trying to change or rewrite anything. Right. We are not trying to do that. We're just it's been fabulous because we're getting such a great reception from everyone. So it's great.
Everyone will benefit from the spoils of evidence that shows efficacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the people that don't even like it will certainly post it on their website or ride that coattail. No doubt about it. Anyway, so acuvlog.ie. I know you're on Facebook. You're on Facebook. Acuvlog is on, or join that group because there's lots of good stuff that goes on there. Check out the YouTube page, and we'll definitely be in touch again. And thank you for the pearls. I'm going to leave it, I think, summarizing, and clearly from your energy is just do it. Just step in and go. Just try. Like there's
And you know, Spence, like you find yourself and like yourself you do it the way you do, and that works for you and you're comfortable with it. So it's kind of like you will find yourself eventually. You'll find your natural way of doing it, like we do in the clinic. You know, we're not practicing the same way that we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We always learn something new. So you'll find yourself.
Yeah, and the sooner you do it, the better, because it's way more fun in clinic if you're just yourself. You're not trying to pretend to be something you're not, and that's I get we start that way, but Thank you so much, Sandro. We will be in touch definitely. I'll see you in like 3 weeks. So
3 weeks
awesome.
time. Yeah,
we'll have to get a pint. There's a couple good Irish pubs in Gastown there. Yeah, and
I know.
Okay, great, awesome.
Thank you so much for having me and for the opportunity. And look, I always say that if there's one person that learns something new and just gets out there and does it, you know, it's fine. And if they want to get in touch, all the details are on the website. They can get in touch with me and I'll answer. I might disappoint them though with the answers and going, no, I don't have a camera, I have my phone.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, I'm all up for helping. Yeah.
Great wisdom. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch. And everybody check them out. And we'll see you soon, Sandro. Take care.
Thank you.